Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail. What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum along with Siggy Guns, and welcome to Fantasy Football Fiends Week 5 Stardom and Situm Show. We're going to be running down all our waiver wire picks, our stardoms, our sits, and our sleeper picks. And first and foremost, I want to quickly tell you that the ticker at the bottom represents like our top players for the week, for Week 5. I have to constantly remind people that it's for Week 5. And we also record the show very early. Like, it's Monday night. It's the game just finished between the Patriots and the Chiefs, and we're recording starting right now. So we're not aware of all the injuries. We're not aware of everything that's happening. We monitor that through the week, and we try to adjust in the comment section of our video. So if you see a name that we mentioned and they turn out to be hurt later in the week, or they turn out to not play, then we try to tell you the opposite guy to play, or maybe somebody different to play that week. But we try to do our best to keep up to date. But we are an ESPN, we are an NFL network, we do make mistakes. We don't have editors or producers to tell us cut and start again and do it over. I am working on having a person actually make a video for us for the week after, showing our mistakes and also how we do fantasy football wise in our stats for the week. So as that comes along, you'll start to see that as it progresses. But like I said, we're not NFL Network or ESPN where we have somebody to make, to correct our mistakes and do things like that. So we try our best to get names correct. We try our best to do everything, but that's just how it is for now. So moving right along now, we're gonna get right into our waiver wire picks. And Siggy, who's your waiver wire pickups of the week?
A lot of Minnesota Vikings here. Jerick McKinnon, Jarius Wright, and then Clay Harbor tight end for Jacksonville. And I'll go ahead and talk about Jarius Wright. It looks like Teddy Bridgewater loves this guy. Out of everybody, we thought it would be Patterson, and obviously they still got Jennings and all them, but it looks like Jarius Wright he let his presence get known, and he's going to be a very good pickup. And I will leave you to talk about Jerick McKinnon, because I'm pretty sure you want to talk about him, right?
Actually, I wasn't, but he is on my waiver wire picks. I have Antone Smith, Darrin Reeves, and Jerick McKinnon. And Darrin Reeves is the guy I was actually going to talk about. Jerick McKinnon had a great game against the Falcons. Even though Matt Asiata got all the touchdowns, McKinnon got all the carries and the yards, and then it was Asiata who took it in. But for Darrin Reeves, the Panthers have no running backs. They have like nobody right now. They have D'Angelo Williams is hurt, Jonathan Stewart's really hurt bad, and then you have Mike Tolbert, he's out. So they're in the hunt right now for a running back. I don't know who they're going to sign or who they're going to get, but they're in the hunt for a running back. And Darrin Reeves is pretty much him and one other guy. That's it. So look for him to have a pretty good workload, a pretty good practice, and he's going to get the workload, the bulk of the carries this week. So let's get right into the starts of the week. And who's your quarterback starts of the week?
All right, so I was right about sitting Nick Foles last week, but I'm going to start him this week. He's playing the Rams.
Rub it in.
Andy Dalton and Ben Roethlisberger, and I'll talk about Ben Roethlisberger. He's playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville is giving up tons and tons of yards and touchdowns. And Roethlisberger, again, he's been lighting it up with Antonio Brown. I'd call that was going to be one of the best players this year. And, Antonio Brown, sure enough, he has not disappointed anybody fantasy-wise. And they're going to continue all over Jacksonville. I mean, that's the must start right there, QB.
Yeah, it seems like anybody against Jacksonville is a must start at this point.
Yeah.
But my QB starts are, just like you said, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning. I can't believe I'm even saying Eli Manning, but Eli Manning and Russell Wilson. And let's talk Eli Manning. The first couple games, he looked shaky. Right? He looked like he was just done. He was throwing interceptions everywhere. He was costing the team victories. And people were like, oh, my God, I can't believe this guy. How is he even a brother of Peyton Manning? And how can one guy be so good and the other guy not, even though Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl rings? But But all of a sudden, lo and behold, here he goes. He's throwing balls all over the place. He's finding receivers. He's got Larry Donald making catches for him. I mean, he's just playing lights out. And here comes the Falcons, who Teddy Bridgewater lit up. So what do you think Eli Manning's going to do? Although it's been a weird season. It's been a weird season. One day somebody's playing great defense. We were talking about the Falcons, how good they were playing defense. And here comes Teddy Bridgewater killing them last week. So, but I think with the way the Giants are playing offense and defense, that Eli Manning is going to light him up this week. So, Eli Manning, definitely. Who's your running backs?
Well, sticking to that theme right there with the Giants-Falcons, I have Rashad Jennings, I have Giovanni Bernard, and I have Kyrie Robinson against the Buccaneers. But I'll talk about Rashad Jennings. He was rested. A lot of people were worried about, well, what happened to Jennings? He was rested because he just came off of a 32 carry the week prior, with his 160 yards or whatever it was that he rushed. And, man, I mean, just think about it. The Giants like to run a lot, and now you have a Falcons team that's just giving up tons of points to running backs. They might have been able to hide it with their passing, with Matt Ryan, but they cannot hide the fact that a lot of running backs are getting a lot of points. You had McKinnon go off, you had Asiata go off, and now you're coming in with Jennings and the Giants. Jennings is going to have a great day against the Falcons.
Yeah, my three as well are Rashad Jennings, Zach Stacy, and I'm going to put LeSean McCoy on there. And the reason why I'm putting LeSean McCoy on there is because he's been just a disappointment. He's finally, I think, going to go off against the Rams. And, I mean, I have him on my fantasy team, and he has been – I don't even think he's done anything. He's cost me games. Like, he has just done nothing. I know he's been playing some good defenses here and there, and I know that Darren Sproles has been taking some of his carries, but, I mean, the carries that he's getting, he's just not getting any yards. And it's been but what I do always say is keep your main guys. Keep your guys, because eventually they are going to go off. They're eventually going to get their yards. They're going to get their crazy games, and this is one of those games where I think McCoy is going to finally go off against the Rams defense, who's banged up on the front. So look for McCoy this week to finally go off. Who's your wide receiver starts?
I got Benjamin against the Bears. I got Mike Evans, the one bright spot it seems for the Buccaneers, and Andrew Hawkins. I'm going to talk about Hawkins. The Browns are playing the Titans, and if you watched that game last week where Andrew Luck just dismantled them, just picked them apart, I got a feeling that Brian Hoyer could do just as good against this Titans defense. It's just looking pretty bad right now, and I think Hawkins is going to be the guy that's going to get everything.
Yeah, I like Andrew Hawkins a lot. My three wide receivers are Brandon Cooks, who disappointed last week, Reggie Wayne, and Markus Wheaton. And we're going to talk about Markus Wheaton. They're playing the Jaguars. We've been talking about it all this time that pretty much a lot of people are doing amazing against the Jaguars. And Markus Wheaton's been one of those guys that's been underrated. Like, everybody's talking about Antonio Brown so much that they're forgetting about Markus Wheaton on the other side. And he's had a quiet but yet solid year for Pittsburgh. And I like him going against the Jags. If they try to double team Antonio Brown, try to do anything with Antonio Brown, this kid's going to make a lot of the catches. So I like Markus Wheaton this week. If you one of those teams that you need a player this week, you need somebody, you have banged up players and you're trying to fit somebody in going against the Jaguars. And here's your player right there that I'm giving you. So who's your tight ends this week?
My tight ends this week is Zach Ertz, who disappointed last week, but now they're playing the Rams at home. Witten against the Texans, and Greg Olsen. And I'll go ahead and talk about Olsen. Olsen's playing the Bears, and we've seen a lot of these players that have been coming back to their teams or playing against their old teams. We saw Steve Smith last week just destroy the Panthers. Yeah. And I got a feeling that that the Panthers have been playing so bad this last couple of weeks, especially on the defensive side. And offense, actually, the whole team, that I got a feeling now that they're back at home, they're going to start tearing it up. I talked about Benjamin, the wide receiver, and I just got a feeling that the whole offense as a unit is going to do good. I think Olsen's going to tear it up against the Bears.
Yeah, my tight ends are Larry Donald, Heath Miller, and Owen Daniels. And Owen Daniels, he had a rough week the first week. I mean, he didn't seem to do much on Baltimore. You'd think he'd do well against, with Gary Kubiak's offense, but they seem to be running the ball and passing the ball. It was their agenda to get the ball to Steve Smith last week. The wide receivers were getting the majority, but usually the tight ends do really well in Gary Kubiak's offense. So against the Colts give up a lot of yards to tight ends, and they give up a lot of touchdowns to tight ends. So look for Owen Daniels this week to get a couple touchdowns, and I'm hoping that he gets a couple touchdowns. Who's your defense? Or defenses?
Defenses: Detroit, Carolina, and the New Orleans Saints. Now I know all three of them, aside maybe from Detroit, but have been having some rough weeks. But I'll go ahead and talk about the Detroit Lions. They're playing the Bills. The Bills benched DJ Manuel, and now they're playing. Is it Kyle Orton? Is that who's stepping in?
Yeah, Kyle Orton's starting for the Bills this week.
Kyle Orton. First of all, he's literally a bum coming off the streets. He played in Dallas. Who knows what kind of,
shape he's in.
He's learning. It's a short week for him. This is going to be a game where I just think that the Lions' defense is already good enough to stop, or at least get picks and stuff like that. The Bills are going to be relying on the running, I'm imagining, and I just think it's just disaster.
And Detroit's amazing against the run too.
Yep.
So my three defenses are, surprise, surprise, Dallas Cowboys going against the Texans, Detroit Lions as well, and the San Diego Chargers going against your Jets. And we'll talk about San Diego. Geno Smith's still in. They're screaming for Michael Vick. They're screaming for him, and since Michael Vick isn't playing, I'm going to tell you right now, the San Diego Chargers I will start him. I don't know what it is with Geno Smith, but he just seems to be struggling. Like, there's times where he looks great, like for a series or two, and then all of a sudden he just struggles. He throws the interceptions, or he fumbles, or he's just not reading coverages right. It's kind of like watching my boy Colin Kaepernick. Like, it's just 1 minute he's good, the next minute he sucks, and it's like it's soul torture to watch him sometimes. But
Geno Smith sucks, period. Don't get me wrong. But the thing is, though, the thing about the Jets, though, this year, especially from last year. Last year, whenever it was Mark Sanchez, I was hoping that they can get the ball down the field and kick a field goal. At least this offense, even with Geno Smith, can move the ball. There hasn't been a game where the Jets haven't been in the game. They've actually almost beat the Packers. They came close last week to tying it. They obviously Geno Smith is the reason why they fall apart at the end, or why they have to come from behind. But at least the offense does move. But yeah, you're right about it. He's going to be making mistakes.
Yeah, and if you're making mistakes, that's a reason to start a defense, which is why I'm going to have to start this week. San Diego Chargers look great. Until Geno Smith proves us wrong, it's going to be wanting to basically start defenses against the Jets like that. But who's your? Well, let's move into sit-ems. Sorry, let's move into the sit-ems portion. And who's your sits for quarterbacks this week?
I got Jay Cutler, Tom Brady, and Alex Smith. And I'll go and talk about Tom Brady. We just watched this Monday night game. Tom Brady just looks like something is wrong with him at this point. I don't know if it's his elbow. I got a feeling that that's what it could be. He's not in the injury reports. I'm not saying that that he's hurt. I'm just saying that it just looks like something's off. He just went like that pick six that he threw. If you watch that throw, he looked like he threw at maximum effort just to be 20 yards short of his receiver, his target, and it was just easily picked by this guy that he didn't even think the ball was going to get to him, and it was that short and that bad. And Brady today in this Monday night game that we watched, he didn't throw any balls past 20 yards. Everything was dump offs, it seemed. And the only time that they got that touchdown,
they have no deep threat. They have no deep threat. I said that at the beginning of the year that they had no good wide receivers. Their wide receivers are all basically possession receivers. And they have no deep threat.
We can't just keep blaming the receivers at this point. He looks horrible at this point right now. Brady himself, he doesn't look like Brady.
Well,
so,
my three wide receivers my three quarterbacks are Alex Smith, Tom Brady, and Kirk Cousins. And I'm not going to talk about Alex Smith. I know that you're probably disappointed, but I'm going to talk about Kirk Cousins. He's going against the Seahawks, and that's reason enough to sit you, unless you're Peyton Manning, of course. But Kirk Cousins, he was he was basically, everybody was saying, oh, he's so much better than RG3. Even I said it, he's so much better than RG3. And what does he do? He throws 3 interceptions. So he's been struggling, but I think he'll rebound. I think he'll have an okay game, but they're playing the Seahawks. He's not warranted enough to start him. I would definitely sit him if you have him. I doubt people would start him anyways, but if you're one of those players or one of those teams that you have him on your team because you picked him up because of RG3 being injured and you have a chance to start somebody else, please start somebody else. Who's your sit-ems for running backs?
Jamaal Charles, Donald Brown, and Matt Forte. And I'll go ahead and talk about Matt Forte. He's another one of these disappointments, first-round picks, and I have 2 of your first-round picks with Jamaal Charles. I know Jamaal Charles had a good game today, but he's up against a bad defense, but a good defense. Forte is playing the Panthers, and the Panthers' defense has not been looking good the last 2 weeks. But at home, that's a different team. And the one thing that they always have been able to do, especially at home, is stop running backs. And I just think Forte is going to continue to struggle and is not looking good anytime soon.
Yeah, my 3 running backs are all basically almost first-round picks, or at least high-round picks for fantasy football this year, and that's Jamaal Charles, Andre Ellington, and Alfred Morris. And we're going to talk about Jamaal Charles because everybody's going to be high off of him coming off this game where he just ran all over New England. He caught passes, and he got he got 3 touchdowns, and that just happened tonight. And they're going into San Francisco, and San Francisco, for one, is going to be fired up because they're playing Alex Smith. And number 2, they're going to be fired up already as it is because they're 2-2, and they don't want to lose this game. And they've been stuffing the run. I mean, since DeMarco Murray, the first week of the season where DeMarco Murray got 100 yards rushing against them, I don't think any team has even passed like 50 or 60 yards rushing against the 49ers. It's been ridiculous. They held Philadelphia to like 22 yards rushing for the whole game. They have not given up anything, and I feel sorry for Jamaal Charles. I don't know how he's going to get any yards, but that team is flying to the ball right now. So look for if I were anybody this week, I'd sit him, even though I know it seems like a rough thing to do because he's a stud, but sit him. Who's your sit-ems for wide receivers?
I have Roddy White, Cecil Shorts, and Torrey Smith, and I got to talk about Torrey Smith because at this point, if you drafted him thinking that he was going to be anything near a number 1 receiver, it's time to let him go. It's time to dump him. So I just put him on this list to put him on the permanent sit list. It's dump time. You have a better chance of picking up a receiver for the Jaguars that'll do better than Torrey Smith at this point. So sit him for life.
My wide receivers are Larry Fitzgerald, Pierre Garçon, and Kelvin Benjamin. And let's talk about Larry Fitzgerald. He's been disappointing. Michael Floyd's been the guy for Arizona, but I know why. It's because Larry Fitzgerald demands a lot more attention. And so, of course, Michael Floyd is getting the single coverage. But in this game against the Broncos, Aqib Talib, he's going to be matched up against Fitzgerald. He's going to be all over them. The Broncos play a lot of a great defense against certain, special players. So they're going to try to take him out the game. So look for Michael Floyd again to have the good game this week against the Broncos, but Larry Fitzgerald, of course, being that decoy effect where, like I said about Brandon Marshall last week, he got 2 catches for 19 yards. He's playing decoy. I mean, he did get a touchdown, but, I mean, it's more of this decoy. You see this decoy thing where teams are double-teaming players and other players are benefiting from it. So who's your tight ends this week, your sits?
I have Bennett on my sit list. I have Kelce and Antonio Gates, and I'll go ahead and talk about Kelce because, again, with this high about the Chiefs just coming in, destroying New England, everybody saw Kelce and Jamaal Charles and Niall Davis, or kick butt, sorry. And the 49ers defense, though, like I said against with Nick Foles and all that, Zach Ertz didn't do anything, Foles didn't do anything. It's just a team, especially when they're playing at home, that just doesn't give up a lot of yards and a lot of points. It's going to be a defensive game. If anything, this game is going to be a low-scoring, 17-10 kind of game. And I just think that, that just means that Kelce is going to be somebody that's not going to score much.
Yeah, Niners have been great against tight ends. They haven't given up anything. I don't think they've given up a thing to a tight end this year. My tight ends are also Travis Kelce. Vernon Davis, he's been hurt. He's been really banged up, and I just can't trust him this week against the Chiefs. Excuse me. And Rob Gronkowski, surprisingly, against the Bengals. Bengals have been playing amazing defense. We'll talk about Rob Gronkowski because he did score a touchdown today. It was late, but I don't see him doing much against the Bengals. This defense for the Bengals is getting a lot of defensive players back, and on top of getting defensive players back, they're getting Vontaze Burfict, who can cover tight ends. The dude is phenomenal on defense, and I don't know if Gronkowski's. You could tell he is another one that's struggling a little bit along with Brady. He's struggling to get open. He's not the same player that he was like maybe a couple years ago, and I don't see him doing anything against the Bengals this week. I don't see them really doing much against that defense. I think the Patriots are in trouble.
Patriots as a whole are in trouble.
Yeah. Who's your sit-em defenses?
I have the Arizona Cardinals, obviously playing the Broncos. New England, we just talked about their offensive struggles, and what that means is that the defense is going to play harder, and the Bengals' offense is still pretty good, and they're going to be just destroying New England's defense. And then St. Louis, I just think you can't. The Eagles had a rough game last week, and now they're at home, and it's just I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to destroy St. Louis, so I wouldn't trust their defense either.
Yeah, I have the St. Louis Rams, I have the Giants, and I have the Baltimore Ravens against Andrew Luck and the Colts. But let's talk about the Giants. They've been playing really good defense, and they've been shocking people because it looked like you thought like maybe the Redskins were going to come in and score a bunch of points. Like, a lot of people thought the Redskins were going to score like 40 points against this Giants defense. Turns out it was the other way around, and they got blown out themselves. But I don't know if they could stop a Falcons team right now with the way Matt Ryan's playing right now. And the Giants defense, to me, isn't that great enough to stop that kind of offense. So if you're high off of them and you think they're going to score a lot of points this week, I would not start them. So who's your sleepers of the week?
Sleepers, you talked about him on one of your starts, and that was Brandon Cooks. He was disappointing, and I just can't wait until he does blow up. He caught all three of his. I think he only had 3 passes. It's just that they haven't been able to look his way. He can get open. He's one of the fastest guys. I think he's going to tear it up, though, against the Buccaneers. Also have Victor Cruz. We talked about Eli Manning against the Falcons. Victor Cruz should have a great game. And Bell against the Jaguars. Anybody against the Jaguars is going to have fun. We didn't mention Bell at all in the stardoms. Obviously, it's a must-start, but these are going to be the guys that are going to be putting up a lot of fantasy points in the week.
And my sleepers are, we talked about them for the waiver wires, a couple of them. Jerick McKinnon with the Packers are going against the Packers. They cannot stop the run. Darrin Reeves going against the Bears. They have a hard time stopping the run as well. And that's, like I said, that's pretty much the lone Carolina Panther running back. And Mohamed Sanu going against the Patriots. Darrell Reeves is going to be all over A.J. Green. And it's going to be a little bit hard. They're still going to go to Green because Reeves can cover, but he's not the same Reeves as he was in his prime. But look for Mohamed Sanu to get a lot of looks. Unless Marvin Jones comes back, and it looks to me so far that even if Marvin Jones comes back, he's going to be the number 3 option from what I've read and from what I've seen so far. So look for Mohamed Sanu to get a lot of looks against the Patriots. So that does it for this week's Stardom Sit-Ems, Waiver Wires, and Sleepers. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section or tweet at us at Optimus Magnum or at SiggyV on Twitter. We take all questions at all times. Siggy has been all over the starts, or all over the comment section, so I work a lot during the night. So when you guys put those comments in there, Siggy's all over them during the day. So I appreciate that. And we try our best to answer them the best we can. Like I said before, the ticker and our picks are done on Monday night, right after the game. So if there's any injuries or anything happens or something crazy happens to some players and we mention a certain player on a team that's going to be hurt or something, we're sorry. We apologize ahead of time, but all you got to do is ask in the comment section, who else do we think is good, and we'll let you know. And like I also said, we also make mistakes. So if we made any mistakes this time, we're sorry. And no, we're not ESPN. Sorry. But anything you want to add before we go?
No, I think I was looking at last week's picks, and we had some hits there and definitely some misses. I can't believe I said start New England's defense because that wound up being a bad choice.
I mean, I had Nick Foles as a starter. You said Nick Foles is just sit. I had it wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not
that.
perfect. We're not going to get everyone right, but we do get a good high percentage of them right. I mean, like we get a high percentage, and we pick players that you see as the players that we picked. You're always going to start your must starts. You're going to start your Drew Brees. You're going to start your Peyton Manning. You're going to start like the players that you know are going to do well. But we're not going to talk about those guys because why we talk about those guys when we're trying to help people out that are trying to put in somebody else this week or something like that. You can ask us about those kind of questions in the comment section. But like I said, we're trying our best to make sure you guys get the best picks possible, and we're not always going to be right, but we're trying our best to help. And it seems like we are helping a lot of people because a lot of people are thanking us, so we feel good about that. So, anyways, for Fantasy Football Fiends, have a great week and enjoy week 5 of the NFL season, and good luck on your fantasy football this week. Peace.